the village of Harlem. It's Harlem Week, and we're in front of a spot that sells fish and wings and shrimp. I'm getting hungry here, and we have a jerk center over there on the other side. We're on 135th Street at 7th Avenue. I'm Bob Slade. I'm joined by Judge Bob Pickett, our legal analyst, Cutman Charles W. Ethics III, the undercover brother, and also the third answer.
Brother Mtume.
There he is. He was around snacking. He didn't want to come up here right away because he said, make people hungry. And in this segment, we are joined by a gentleman who is challenging Congressman Charles Rangel in the Democratic primary, which is coming up on the 14th of September. His name is Jonathan Tasini. He's a close personal friend of Peter Noel, as a matter of fact.
Proud to say that.
Right.
That's too nice.
It's way too nice, Peter. I don't understand that. Anyway, Mr. Tasini is out and about. He's here. He saw Congressman Rangel a few minutes ago when he was here, so we'll give him equal opportunity. Mr. Tasini, welcome to our stage here from the Y. And the big question is why? Why are you running?
So first of all, thank you for having me on,
Yes.
and it's great sitting next to my brother Peter. We were fellow Village voice writers, and the one thing you can always say about Peter, which all of you know, is he always has an opinion. You might not agree with him, but man, he knows how to talk and he knows how to write. And I'm really proud to be here sitting next to Peter. So here's the main reason I'm running, folks. And I want to also say, before I say that, I saw State Senator Bill Perkins. His answer on the mosque was one of the reasons that Bill Perkins is a great moral voice for our country and for our state, for our district. That was a beautiful, here's a man who lost someone on 9/11, yet he can stand here and say that that mosque has a right to be built because this is America. I know I'm going to argue with Peter here in a second, but that was a great answer. So I am running for one basic reason. The people of this district and the people in this country have been robbed. And we have been robbed for the last 30 years. And the time of that robbery, we have got to say enough is enough. We have been robbed by Wall Street. We have been robbed by the landlords. We have been robbed by the big corporations that have taken our wages and now want to take our pensions. And frankly, one of the things that I am not, I'll be very upfront. The party machine, the Democratic Party machine, does not like me. And the reason that they do not like me is that I am critical of the Democratic Party machine because they are not standing up for the people. The young man that just stood here before, he asked about police violence, but he asked a bigger question. Where are the politicians? Where are the politicians when it comes time to stand up for the people? Yeah, they come by in election time, and they come by when they need your votes. But when you're getting thrown out of your apartments, and when you get thrown out of your jobs, and where corporations are taking our jobs abroad, you can't find the politicians. And why? Because they are being paid by the lobbyists and the big corporations all across America. Now, what does that have to do with Congressman Rangel? It has nothing. I am not going to say a single word here, unless you ask me, about all the stuff that's been in the papers. Charlie Rangel has done a lot of good for this country. He opposed the Iraq War, and he should be given credit for that. I was totally opposed to the Iraq War. He had the guts to say that if we were going to have a war, there should be a draft because it shouldn't just be poor people and people of color who go to war to pay for that war. But Congressman Rangel is part of the system. He has become part of the dysfunctional system.
Yes, he is.
The number one contributor to Congressman Rangel, I want you to hear this. The number one contributor to his campaign is the real estate industry. If you wonder why you're being thrown out of your homes, if you wonder why we can't find affordable housing, it's because the political system in this country, the landlords, are paying off our politicians. And that goes down the list on a lot of other issues. So let me just stop there and say, I am running to stand up for the people. I'm a union man, all right? How many people are here in unions? The labor movement is the greatest single force.
What about nonprofit organizations?
Along with the civil rights movement and the women's movement, the labor movement is the greatest force for economic justice in the country. And I am running because I want to stand up for the people. That's all I've ever done in my life as a union organizer, and Peter will attest to that.
All right. Peter will attest to that. But go ahead, Peter.
Oh, no, listen,
That's your man. No.
Jonathan is right. Listen, Jonathan and I have disagreed before, and we disagree on the issue concerning the mosque, but that's not the issue that I want to deal with. He raised a very prominent issue, which is housing and landlords in this town. And believe me, there are people right now who tomorrow will be evicted from
This
their...
area, by the way, do you, Mr. Tasini, you live here?
I've lived in Washington Heights for the last 23 years. I've lived in the same rent-stabilized apartment. I only have one rent-stabilized apartment. For 23 years, I'm proud to be a Washington Heights resident, but I've been all through all these communities. I've walked in the streets, I've cycled in the streets, I'm a big bicycle rider, so I've been through all the streets. But here's the thing. We get, in some way, because it's an odd thing that all the issues that you read about in the paper that Congressman Rangel has to deal with, I think this is an odd thing to say, I think it's a mistake to focus on that. And here's why. Because the things that I just said before are much more important. The fact that the corporations are robbing us. The fact that Charlie Rangel, listen to this, he is the #4 taker of money of all members of the House of Representatives. There are 435 House members all across the country. He's the #4 taker of lobbyist money. That buys our politics. Our politics are corrupt. And one of the reasons I want to be elected is to bring this system down so that we don't have this corrupt system anymore, so that people can get decent jobs, that we don't have the corporations buying our policy, that we don't go to stupid immoral wars like the Afghanistan war for oil. We have to start bringing this money back to the people, and we will not do it until we take on my own party. Forget the Republicans. They're easy targets.
Right.
They're racist and they're fools.
Right, what we're gonna do
I would never let them run the country again, but we've got to take on the Democratic Party and make it the party of the people again.
Jonathan, before we go to the audience for questions, let me ask you this. Speaking of money, it's not easy to run for Congress. It costs, it's estimated it costs anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million to take on an incumbent congressman. Who's supporting you? Where do you get your money from?
Well, that's an excellent question. You know, where am I going to have money to run this race? To be honest with you, the only reason I may not win this race is because of money. Because I don't get lobbyist money, I don't get corporate PAC money, I get it from regular people. People give me $25, $50. You know, I have some friends who, you know, who are lawyers or professionals, they can write checks for $500. But I'm running at a time, and everybody here knows this, the hardest time for the people in my adult life. The economic crisis is so hard that it's hard for people to give that $50 or $100. So I'll be honest, I'm a very honest person about this. You're right, Congressman Rangel has a lot more money than me. A lot of it he's spending on legal fees, but there's a lot more money than me. And I may not win because I may not be able to raise the money, which, forget me, that's a sad thing in America. Because there are probably at least 50 people out here, there's a couple of hundred people out here, there's at least 50 people out here who would like to run for office and I think would do a better job than most of the people in office. And you don't want to run for office because you know what it takes. You have to go find people to raise money.
All right, let me answer this very quickly. We're going to go right to the people here, but you made 2 digs on Charlie Rangel. Now, what is your opinion? You think he's guilty or what? Have you already tried him and you found him guilty or what? These ethics charges? What's your opinion on that?
I have no idea, and Congressman Rangel was right. I have been one person. I have not said, Charlie Rangel, you should resign. Some other candidates have. I won't mention them because he has the right to be presumed innocent. I don't know if I think there's serious charges, and clearly there has to be a airing of those. And that's why, again, I'm trying to avoid that because I want us to focus in this debate about the people and about the corporate control that we have. This economic crisis is the worst we've had in my adult lifetime. I don't want this election to be just about those ethical charges. So I don't know. I'm not a prosecutor. That will be heard, but I'm going to do as much as possible not to talk about that.
All right, we have some folks lined up. They want to ask you some questions. Let's go.